Seriously injured? Call Kanowski Bresney. We get your worth.
I'm very happy with the result. I don't think any other attorney could have done a better job.
Call Kanowski Bresney at 888, the letter U, count and the number 2, or see me on the web at bresneylaw.com.
KCAA.
Live and in color from the NBC News radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful Southern California, and in parallel from the Turf's Up radio studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone show this evening.
Well, welcome in. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone show. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in and listening, and we hope everybody's having a great week, or morning, or afternoon, or night, wherever you are in this great world. It's pretty big, so got to cover all the territories. We have a good show today, and I want to bring in a wonderful lady that I call her my wow lady. It's a woman of water. I always joke with them about it, but it's good. And it's Miss Chris Austin, and she is the purveyor of Maven's Notebook. Chris, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good.
Is it hot enough down there?
It's been about 109, 107, somewhere in that range. It's cooling down. It's cooling down to like 87 at night. So yeah, it'll be.
Yeah. And up here it's just 91 today. We've had none have not been hitting the triple digits, so that's very nice. Here in California, we're very worried about fire danger always, but a lot of fire danger around you, too. The Southwest, they're very worried about fire conditions this weekend across the Southwest and hitting into California, too. So this is a good time to be very careful, everybody.
Yep. Now's the time to quit smoking. Cigarettes.
No. Well, I hope that people aren't stupid enough to do that. But then the way some people start fires is very sad. And sometimes I think I'm not sure, but the statistic is pretty high that a lot of these are human caused. So let's all be really careful because it's just very bad. And Utah, I guess, is really having a hard time with their fires. So, just good to be cognizant of that at all times.
Well, just think how hot it is back east. There's all kinds of heat alerts.
Oh, yeah. Boy, yeah. Oh, and heat domes. And Washington, D.C., very, very hot. Not looking good for people being outdoors. But D.C. is a world away.
That's true. Well,
I want to talk about where I spent yesterday because I thought it was really very cool. I was out at Chico State at the first of 8 summits that the California Department of Food and Agriculture is holding across the state to discuss regenerative agriculture and how they can get more farmers on board with these techniques. And I thought I was quite fascinated, and I'm actually kind of getting excited about like soil health because it's amazing what it means. And so I want to share just some of it because it started out with these 3 different farmers from different parts of the state, and they talked about this. And regenerative agriculture, I guess I should explain that, I mean, it almost sounds like, hippie stuff, like tie-dyes and Birkenstocks, Like I remember many years ago, they had someone was selling this little thing you could build in your backyard. It was a greenhouse and had a fish pond and had kind of did this cycling thing. So theoretically, you could, grow your own food and fish out of this thing. It's nothing like that. It's using things like cover crops in the wintertime it's adding mulch or compost to the soil and to increase the organic content. And when you do something like that, it really helps increase the moisture content of the soil too. So so they started out with these 3 farmers, and they were very entertaining and very enthusiastic about the sort of thing that they were talking about. Oh, I have a new word for weeds. It's volunteer vegetation. So that's what I love that. I had to write that down. But one of the things that they really talked about are cover crops in the wintertime and keeping soil covered. Like the one farmer said, when she sees bare earth, that's bad. She says you got to keep your soil covered because Mother Nature does not like to be naked. Wrote that down. And these farmers talked about mistakes. They're not mistakes; they're learning opportunities. So I enjoyed it very much. But so when you're growing these cover crops, they're uptaking more carbon, and there's ways that you can manage this vegetation, and mulch it in at the end of the year. So it was, very interesting to see. I'm flipping through my notes right now. One of the things I thought was really interesting is at Chico State, they did some tests with 2 types of soil. They're documenting what happens with conventional agriculture and these regenerative agriculture techniques like cover crops and adding in mulch. And so they studied this, and they found out that in the regenerative agriculture side, where they were adding the mulch and the organic content, the water had, greater infiltration, and the soil moisture was greatly increased. And the nitrate was also taken up. Nitrate is a big problem in our state because it's leaching down into the groundwater. So when you get the cover crops, they uptake some of that. And so that's actually really important, I think. Oh, yes. And you also, when you use these techniques, you get better crops. And so what they found is they grew barley both conventionally and with this regenerative agriculture. And this is out at the Chico State farm. They have a university farm there. So anyways, they grew this barley, and the barley from the regenerative agriculture had 19% higher yield and 30% less fertilizer, less protein, which is good for beer. It's actually excellent. You don't want high protein, you want the low protein. And so they sold a big crop to the local brewery in town, and so there's going to be a special brew from Chico State. But I mean, there's a lot of great things here, and economics are very important. But it's actually, if you use these techniques, then there's some cost in changing over to them. But what you get is higher crops, but you can use less water and less fertilizer, and so your inputs are less. So you might have slightly lower yield, but you have less inputs and you make more money in a sense. And farmers are very motivated by the money. And that was one thing I heard over and over again. Economics is not, that's important. They have to be able to make money to stay in business. So a lot of exciting stuff that they were talking about, and like using sheep to graze your cover crops, like in between the orchards is, that's another thing that's very big. So very exciting stuff. I think there's lessons to be learned here. So these summits will continue across the state over the next few months. So if you're interested, y'all should go to the Department of Food and Agriculture website and, find information there.
Was a guy, we had a guy on the show, if you remember, a couple months ago, named Gabe Brown, and he was the president of a company called Understanding Ag, and he does the regenerative farming, teaches that. Was he at that?
No, they didn't have anybody like representing companies or anything or products or anything like that. This was farmers and policy people, trying to figure out what it takes to get more farmers to use these techniques. And it's about, you need to provide incentives because it's risky for the farmer to choose to do something different, but
right.
you take away the risk by incentivizing that, and once they do it and they say, okay, I see it works, you don't have to keep incentivizing them. Hopefully they can continue on and do it in all their other fields, but it's getting the initial over the hump,
Did they talk about, I know I went to a session a long time ago, not that one, but a different one up in Tulare, and they had a guy come in and talk about insects and how insects are important to the thing, and that was
yeah. It was not a function. Not something that they talked about there, although that's another thing that, less input, less chemicals in the world. And I just know, down in Southern California, when we grew tomatoes, we'd get those tomato worms, those big, ugly green things.
Yeah, they had like a horn on their head or something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. And they just came out of nowhere, and they'd be so friggin' huge, right? But I would order beneficial insects from some company out in Oxnard, and I would release the bugs that would eat the babies of the hornworms, and I wouldn't see them any year that I applied the bugs. And so if you're a home gardener and you want to, stay away from pesticides, you should look into bugs, in your area. Because it's much easier to release some bugs than to spray and do all that stuff. I mean, you release the bugs, it's 60 seconds, you go, they're all different how you do them. I'll tell you, too, in Southern California, we used to have brown snails out around our house, but then I was able to order these snails called decollate snails, and they eat the eggs of the brown snails, and they take over the yard, and they regenerate in your year after year. So and you don't see the good snails. You don't see them. You would see the other ones, the brown snails. So it eliminates the problem. But you can't get those snails everywhere. But boy, I got to tell you, when you can use the beneficial bugs, that's just way easier.
Oh yeah,
than having to apply pesticides or something. No sprayer, none of that.
When I first moved to California with my family a long time ago, there were snails in our backyard, and my dad was talked to his landscape guy to try to get how to get rid of them and everything else. But there was a thing that I remember, that if you collected those, if you kept them, and you feed them something else to eat, that they would be good enough for humans to eat.
Ew.
I know, but that was the thing. Hey, you had a story which is kind of interesting about the uneven toll of California groundwater law, with this poor farmer got to pay like $73,000 in the fees.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's just a way that that folks got swindled in a sense, and it's very hard. They got swindled because everyone knew that sustainable groundwater management was coming, and they kept planting these little farms and then selling them off, to people who didn't go and bother to learn all about the policy. I mean, it's hard enough to be a farmer, as it is, and then to buy a property, and then you think that you have to think about all that, but unfortunately you do. And it's, what we do for the small farmers that's a really big question. I'm working with the folks at the UC Ag and Natural Resources, and we're going to be doing a webinar, and I think it's going to be on August 4th, and it's going to be about tools for small farmers and things, to help them figure out what to do. But some of it, these small farms, groundwater dependent farms, I don't know how viable that's just going to be.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. I read the story, and it was kind of heartbreaking to see how he struggled real hard and bought all this stuff, and he does almonds, and it's just a shame. I mean, he came to the United States, he simulated, became a citizen, worked his butt off, and now he's can't afford to keep the place. He's going to lose everything, and it's just sad.
It is, and and he's really trying to do the right thing, but unfortunately, that happens, and it's we'll see. So much of the San Joaquin Valley, there's no way around it. There's got to be some fallowing that's going to happen there, and it's probably going to be in hundreds of thousands of acres, if not over 1 million acres, depending on how it goes down. That's just the reality, that we just don't have the water supply that we used to have. We don't have the groundwater aquifers, and people want more flow in the environmentalists want more flow in the river, and the farmers think they're already taking too much for the environment. They want, and it becomes this battle. But it's a battle over less, unfortunately, so it's very hard. Yep. And the rubber's hitting the road for Sigma, and that's going to be not an easy ride for a lot of people, unfortunately. But, if you deplete the aquifers down to the bottom, everybody loses.
Yes, you're right. It's going to be interesting what the new governor, whoever that may be, and what direction he's going to be in. We had some people on the show a week ago from the Association of California Water Agencies, and we were joking about. I suggested or floated the idea that we should invite Becerra and Hilton, who are probably going to be the runners of that, and have them come on the show and talk about the big issues in water and what's their ideas behind it. What are they going to do? And I talked to the head of it the other day, and we're going to have a conference call next week, and they're interested in participating and getting that to happen. I can't ask them. I can't ask the candidates to come on the show because I'm a nobody compared to the other lady who runs that organization and handles all the water agencies in California. But we're going to see if we can do that. Whether they do it, whether they want to do it as a debate thing or come on separate and do that, I'd like to hear what their plans are for water. I think that would be a good thing. Anyway, going back to your first thing that you were talking about, the Farmland Summit, I read in your blog that there was a breakthrough at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory where they're turning wastewater into nitrogen fertilizer.
Yeah,
that's a big deal because it said the price of nitrogen fertilizer for the last 5-6 years went up 120-something%.
And it's really being, I guess, impacted by the Strait of Hormuz. So, different things. And anything you can do that's a better fertilizer or utilize something. It kind of reminds me of this group in San Francisco so now you know it's coming from San Francisco. They had some sort of like, I can't remember why they did it, but I think it's just public awareness. But for a month, they set up this little place where you could go and you could pee, and they would turn your pee into a fertilizer, and when you put it in there, you got a receipt. You know, it was given to the pee machine. You know, you know, this idea that we can sell our urine for fertilizer. So but hey, that'd be natural. That would be natural.
It's like when we had the people on for produced water, or any of the other things where they have to worry about water, or even the fracking, to literally mine the brine for magnesium and other, lithium and other things. I think there should be a lot more research going into stuff like that. I mean, because you have a problem and you find a way to solution. A good point in turn is this: look at the golden mussels again. My favorite story. No, but they got a big problem with it now, and
huge.
And they're going to spend I think $6 million at ponying up to do that because it's impacting all the water infrastructure.
They are working so hard to find out how they can control these things. They're inside drinking water systems, so you're limited what you can put in a pipe to that goes to serve water to homes, or how to get them out of there. This is a huge thing, and unfortunately, invasive species. That's especially aquatic invasive species. Even the government acknowledges it's not a matter of if, it's really a matter of when, because the whole world is connected by the water, and the ships cross the ocean, and they enter in the ports and they bring stuff in, and then the recreational boaters go put their boats in, and they go up and down the rivers and put those boats on trailers and take them across the country, and so they all move. Having the help of recreational boaters to stop the spread is definitely key, but it's not all on them either. And by the way, I had to kind of giggle. All those boats that have been sitting in the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, yeah, hundreds.
They all have to be scraped and cleaned before they can move. And this is not just, for environmental reasons, but like also the boat itself needs to move. And what did they say? It was like a day for each one, and there's like 500 of them there. Yeah. So I hope some contractors are making some good money on that, because I bet they're trying to get those boats out of there. But
a new way. Well, we got to go over to our commercial break and continue. But Chris, thanks a lot for giving us information about that farm summit. That's really interesting. And if you go to the next ones, do the same thing. Collect the data and let us know what's happening. So we appreciate that. And for our listeners, I always say, go to maidensnotebook.com, become a subscriber, get the latest in water news every single day. And I read it. Toro reads it. Everybody reads it, but it's good. And if you want to be a sponsor of that, it's a 503c charity, so you can take that as a tax deduction. And it's a good way to get behind the scenes and know what's going on. So, Chris, thank you. Stay cool. Have a nice 4th of July. We will be back with you on next week. And enjoy life.
All right. Thanks.
All right. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be back in a few minutes after our commercial break with our featured guest. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
Site One is here to help you build and maintain outstanding irrigation systems from the ground up without drying up your resources. That's why we're excited to introduce Rainbird's Soak Up the Savings. From July 1st to August 31st, discover a deluge of savings on Rainbird exclusively from Site One. Spend between $350 and $749 on eligible Rainbird products and take advantage of a 5% discount on your order. Spend between $750 and $1,500 and you get a 10% discount. Rainbird, renowned for industry-leading technology and reliability, has all the products you need for an exceptional irrigation install. And together with Site One, you can ensure the best job for the best price possible. So head over to your nearest Site One branch and explore our extensive selection of Rainbird products specially selected to meet all your irrigation needs. And remember, this exclusive promotion is available for a limited time only from July 1st to August 31st. Don't miss out on this opportunity to elevate your irrigation projects without breaking the bank. Stop by your local Site One branch or visit siteone.com/soakupthesavings.
Water is one of the biggest expenses for communities, HOAs, universities, golf courses, and resorts. So keeping those costs under control, especially when rates are increasing while water supplies are being reduced, are often essential to a customer's survival. Managing water requires multiple skills, which is why it's been complicated and difficult until now. AquaTrack brings multiple skills and technologies together to help large system users conserve outdoor water and improve the health of their landscapes. AquaTrack's professionals are certified landscape water managers and certified landscape irrigation auditors. The company offers audit services, upgrade advice, technical expertise, and water use monitoring. We already manage irrigation water for the largest homeowner associations in Arizona, and we're prepared to bring our knowledge and experience to help others, including landscapers and designers. Give us a call and hear how AquaTrack saved one HOA some 430 million gallons of water and $200,000 in annual water expenses. AquaTrack is Arizona-based, and you can reach us at 623-594-8689. That's 623-594-8689.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the Water Zone, and we have a great guest on today, and her name is Tanya Moritz-Witten, and she is the president of San Jose Water. We caught up with her a week ago and had a great conversation, so I'll let you hear it. Here we go. Tanya?
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Appreciate you taking the time out. A couple things I know we're going to talk about today. I'm very excited to have you on, and Tara as well. So what drew you, first kind of question is, what drew you to the water industry? How did you get here?
I was born into the utility space. So, what drew me to this industry really goes back to my roots, Rob. I grew up in a utility and service family. My dad worked at PG&E for 50 years. My mom was an ER nurse for 40 plus years, and that gave me a really early appreciation for what it means to be a part of a company whose entire mission is to serve the public. I was very fortunate. I even interned at PG&E myself. So from early on, I was drawn to the service-based companies where reliability and trust really matter. And what was very special is at the same time, I was a student at UC Santa Barbara, an environmental studies major. So I've always had this deep passion for environmental stewardship and protecting our natural resources. So I knew I wanted to do work with a purpose. And I was very, very fortunate to be introduced to the space from my father and my internship. And then one of my first jobs out of college, being an environmental studies major, I was an environmental field chemist, and I got to work at a wastewater collection plant. So that hands-on work, really made me appreciate the field, the construction aspect, the operations aspect, and just what we were doing was really important for our environment. And so, looking back, it really feels like my career has come full circle. Little did I know, as that little environmental field chemist in a wastewater plant, that I'd be, in my dream job overseeing an amazing company such as San Jose Water. So I think that's, it just really found me.
So my mom lives in San Jose, so I'm really excited that you're actually here today. I could not be more excited about that. Could you share an overview kind of for someone like her, where she doesn't totally understand the water industry and how it all kind of comes together. And so tell me a little bit about the system, how it all works, what pieces and components you have. I know you're pretty big, so tell me more about that.
Yeah, I would love to. So I actually had to learn this. I'm newer to this space. I've only been in the water sector for a little over 2 years. And so I had to learn it. So I'm happy to do that because I really needed that 101 as well. What I first like to start off by saying is that San Jose Water is going to be 160 years old this year. We are super excited about that. So we're a staple in this community. We have amazing engineering expertise. We serve over 1 million people in the Silicon Valley. So it's not just San Jose. San Jose is our biggest customer, and we service over 80% of San Jose. We service Cupertino, Los Gatos, Montessorino, Saratoga, and Campbell. So we have a really wide, vast spread in the Silicon Valley. That equates to about 140 square miles. It's one contiguous area and geographically diverse. Just to give you some stats, because I am a data person, we have about 2,500 miles of water main piping. We have over 300 booster wells and pumps. We have treated water tanks, 105 of those. And really, there's three main ways we get water into our system. One is we purchase water. So that's imported water. 54% of that, you'd mentioned you were visiting with Valley Water folks. 54% we purchased treated water from Valley Water. 39%, we actually pump our own groundwater, but we pay a pumping fee to Valley Water because they take care of the natural recharges and things like that associated with our pumping. And then we have our own Montevita treatment plant, which is our pride and joy for us. And that's anywhere between 7 and 10% that we treat ourselves from surface water. That's located in Los Gatos, and that treats the Los Gatos, Saratoga, and Howell areas. So very complex system, sophisticated system, and I believe well-run system, knock on wood.
So you have programs for stewardship and affordability. How does San Jose Water prioritize conservation and environmental stewardship?
So at San Jose Water, I'd like to introduce, I'm a subsidiary of H2O America. H2O America has 4 water companies: San Jose Water, Texas Water Company, Connecticut Water Company, and Maine. And San Jose is 60% of the company, so we're rather large. And the reason why I want to start there is because at H2 America, we have a tagline that says we protect what's precious. So environmental stewardship is extremely part of our mission and values and just who we are and how we show up in our communities. So it's just core to who we are. And we've been stewarding land and water. Like I said, we're going to be 160 years old this year. And we often say we're not just a water utility, but we're also conservationists. And we have a responsibility to not only delivering water, but protecting that natural system that sustains it. We manage about 6,000 acres of watershed land in Los Gatos Creek and Saratoga Creek. And it's a significant responsibility that we take really to heart and make it a priority. So we always balance the customer needs with our environmental health, but they go hand in hand. We believe you can't have one without the other. And so it's a nice balance of how we look at it. But it's a very much a priority and embedded in our DNA. We often work with other entities to ensure that we take care of our resources appropriately. So it's really about our long-term view of thinking of water and our land and bringing our community together.
In the face of the current climate change that we're all experiencing, how's your organization committing to drought and wildfire resilience?
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I'm originally from the gas and electric space, and I worked in a major utility at PG&E, so wildfire was always at the heart before even coming to here. And I'm happy to say that at San Jose Water, there are a number of things that we are doing with respect to wildfire resiliency. It's mission critical for us. Just as I mentioned previously, the vast amount of watershed we have done different technologies similar to what the electric space is with alarms and sensors. We partner with our local fire folks, and they have helped, and we've even initiated grants for them, so they will also have the proper technology. We also have a resiliency task force. It's a cross-functional governance body in my company, which has engineering, operations, emergency management, GIS and IT, finance, legal, watershed teams. We make sure that we have this resiliency plan. We're further enhancing it, especially with what happened in LA last year. We had to revisit and go back with our pencils to sharpen it a bit more. We have a forest health program with proven results. So we partnered with CAL FIRE and the Santa Clara County Fire Safety Council. And we're excited to say that we secured over $14 million in forest health grant funding for our Los Gatos Creek. And we treated nearly 1,900 acres so far. And I think I mentioned earlier the early detection technology is important. We get alarms and we use AI sensors, and we make sure that we respond accordingly when those things happen. And so as far as drought, there's definitely conservation programs. I'm excited to share that we are almost complete with our AMI, our Advanced Metering Infrastructure project. So we'll be completed by next year, but what that is just like similar to the electric space. They did this over a decade ago. We'll have smart meters, and our customers will be able to have to go into a portal, receive links to tell them if they've met certain thresholds or if they have leaks. We actually have gotten calls, is this a joke? Is this serious? And, at times when you get your utility and you have comments on Nextdoor, they're not always positive, but we've actually gotten some positive ones where customers are like so thankful that they got alerts and they have they found the leaks before they became very problematic.
Which channels have you found to be the most effective in communicating with customers about these rates and infrastructure improvements? Because that's what I need to know as a public outreach person.
We are learning. I would say that we have made some progress. I've been here a couple years. Our customers, receive information, as you know much better than I do, in different forums. That typical bill insert probably doesn't hit the mark for a majority of our folks. So some of the ways we've done this is we have been having webinars and inducing on our different social media platforms, and we've gotten great response from that. We've just updated our website to have a little bit more educational information. We've also done some social media blasts where we got some influencers in the area who, especially the people that are outdoorsy in the watershed, they actually gave a plug for the hard water and how to address it, but how it has healthy minerals in there. And that actually got a lot of traction. So we thought that was helpful. But I think what I'm most proud of is our Customer Advisory Council. So we did a blast and got a lot of applications for folks to see. And we didn't know if anybody would be interested, but there's so much interest. And we're coming up on our 4th year of this, where we invite this group in, about 20-25 of our customers, and we have conversations with them. We want to understand what is out there, what questions do they have, what concerns do they have. Also, we take them on tours. We take them to our watershed, our water plant, our groundwater pumping stations. We did a smart meter overview for them. We shared various technology that we're doing, and it is very, very powerful. We just had we have them twice a year. We just had one last week, and the insightfulness, but just the sophistication of our customers. We had engineers in there, we had teachers, we had doctors, we just have people who are retired and just have an interest in this. And they really help shape how we communicate, how we understand problems, how we can have empathy for people, and just how we're changing programs to be the ones that service them with high quality, affordable, reliable water that they so need.
Going back to your advanced metering infrastructure, do you do tiered rates?
Yes, we do. We have fixed and we have tiered rates.
Okay, and these meters that you're working on, that you have, do they interface with any smart controllers today? Meaning, like when you go to the gas station and you fill your car up, immediately how much you're using. Would this program allow the homeowner or commercial property owner to connect, will be connected, but go into a portal and see in real time how much they're utilizing?
Yes, that's what I was initially speaking about getting these alerts. So they actually will go, and we actually had the customers vote and determine what the name would be, and it's actually SJ Water Hub portal. That came straight from our customers' votings. They can see their usage on an hourly, daily, or monthly basis. Now, it's not going to be exact real time, Rob, but it'll be significantly close because it does have that communication. So they'll get the early notification of leaks. That will help, like I said, unhappy surprises of the large bills. Plus savings of water, when they get that, they can determine if they're using too much water and not enough, if there's continuous flow, if they have issues with their toilets or sprinklers. But yes, they will be able to see their information.
Now, does that tie into any water budgets that you may assign for each property? Do you do that as well, or?
We haven't actually assigned. We're going to start looking into how to best use this analytics. But at this time, individuals are free to use as much as they would like. We're not in a declared drought at this time, but we do want to see how we can leverage this data to enhance the customer experience.
So this Community Involvement Customer Advisory Council, how do you see that as being more forward than most of the other water agencies?
It's actually a best practice. We have partnered, we've had actually spoken at conferences at the California Water Association, and people are looking towards doing that as well. And not many do. And I think because for utilities, sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating, right, to invite your customers in. And the ones that want to participate have really a passion and a voice, but we embrace it. And I think getting to the root of what people want to learn about or what they want to say or question or have advisement on, we need to take that to heart and we need to leverage that. And we use it as a tool, like just an asset. But I think that that's the way to go. I just wish we could get to all million of our customers, not just 25 at a time, but I think it very much informs us, and then they become ambassadors, and they actually are eyes and ears, and they'll bring issues, and they can speak for the company, and what they see and what they're understanding. Because I think people just are not as informed. And when you actually come and see what amazing work our employees do, because the utility space I know I have like a soft spot in my heart because my dad worked at PG&E for 50 years and he was an electric crew foreman. But not only do they work day in and day out, they take great pride. They are subject matter expertise on these. And I think they really get a sense of compassion and understanding. So I think it's fantastic.
One of the questions I always like to ask, and it's not a tricky question, it's just from your perspective. So say the governor or the new governor, whoever that's going to be, comes in and names you the czar of water for the whole state. Okay.
I like that title, Rob.
Okay, I'll push for that. I'll tell Wade Crowfoot that. But anyway, what would be the top three things that you would? Because there's so many things to work on in water in California. You got a long list. What do you see as the most important top three issues that you should deal with?
Okay, that is a great question. Let me think for a second. Okay, well, and honestly, I probably focus in on three big things right away. Okay, first and foremost is affordability. We have to make sure water stays accessible to customers, especially as costs continue to rise. Really what we're trying to do is bend that curve that we're seeing, especially when we get so much of our water from treated water, which is extremely expensive in the Silicon Valley area. Second is the long-term supply reliability. In California, we're dealing with climate variability, so building a more diversified, resilient portfolio is critical. We need to make sure that we're leveraging sophisticated technology. We're building the proper infrastructure. But along with that, with my first is the affordability piece. We need to find ways to properly pay and not put all the burden on an isolated small few people. Water is very local compared to coming from the gas and electric space. There's like 3 major players in all of California. In the water space, there's so many. So when you have these big infrastructure projects, the burden is coming into isolated number of small customers, and that can be really difficult to manage. So we need to make sure that we do focus in on the affordability. And then lastly, at the end of the day, I really want to make sure that we have a diverse supply. So when I mentioned infrastructure, I think we need to look at new technologies. We need to look at the desal. I know it seems very costly, but if you look into the future and having this, resilient water area, that is something that we're looking into at San Jose Water. We just gave a press release, I think in April timeframe, where we are venturing into a DPR, direct potable reuse pilot. As you know, and you're well aware, in late October of 2024, there has been some legislation and ruling that we can actually do that here in California with very strict controls. I'm so excited. We've started and we're working with an engineering firm. We're gonna have a mobile unit, and we're gonna be inviting people to test the water and have a tasting test next year sometime. So we're really looking forward to that. We need to do more of those things. So if I was the water czar, I would figure out how we could do that, think outside the box, and what people think, oh, it may be too expensive or not possible, make it possible, because I'm really in this for the long haul, like for my grandchildren and my grandchildren's grandchildren, not just for today.
Well, you make excellent points. When the drought hits and people have to cut back, and then they say the water prices go up, they still have to realize the operations of water and water treatment and water management still goes on. You have to have a staff to run it. Even if people took a 25%, like years ago when they wanted a 25% cut in usage, the operation still had to run. And
yes, I'm so glad you said that. A cute story. So I'm a hands-on servant type leader. I love to be in the field. Those are my favorite days. So whether it's out with crews, but I'm also was in the call center on calls. And it's very interesting, people who are struggling with their bills, and we have so much empathy for them. But people are like, I use way less now than I ever have, and my bills are going up. And then they'll say, I haven't even been at the house to turn it on. Why do I have a water bill? And we have to walk them through. You're actually paying for that reliability. We have to maintain that system. We have to take care of the system. So I really hear you on that.
In remarks to the desalination, a lot of people are upset about that. It takes a lot of electricity, but there's a couple companies. There's one, I forget their name right off my bat. They were on our show a while back, where they put these pods in the ocean and use the pressure of the ocean, and they're doing that in two water agencies down south of you.
Yes.
Los Angeles. And that seems to be a good process. And we gotta go look to the future to see what can we do. Everybody says, oh, it's expensive, just like the desal plant they built down in Carlsbad, California. It took 17 years from the idea to when they turned it on. And a lot of those, the procedures and the regulations need to be looked at and see if they can be cut, because you can't wait 17 years. Just like I joke about your train to nowhere. I used to be from California and lived in Anaheim Hill. So, I lived there a long time. And all I know is they say, hey, we're going to have a high-speed train going up north and blah, 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 but it's still not done yet. And it's a whole lot more money today than it was 20 years ago. And people get a little disingenuous about what they think about the regulations and the legislature, because they just hear a lot of talk. They say it's like the word NATO, and they have a new name for NATO. We know it as North American Treaty Organization. In the business that I'm in with the water, people go, it's no action, talk only. And they hear that all the time, and it doesn't seem to move the effort further. Just like, are we going to have one tunnel? Are we going to have 2 tunnels? Or who's going to pay for it? No, we don't want to pay for it. And they go on and on and on. It's just, and people, there's always going to be 2 sides to a story and 2 sides to an opinion. that's fine. But I think people have to understand, in order for us to move forward, you gotta put your ideas together and move it forward, and you got to give a little on things. And I hope that the new governor comes in and has that.
But now they're more the norm. Like, is there a way to streamline so the permitting can be easier, the bill can be easier, the proxies removed? So I know that, in California, especially given the governor's race, people were talking about building homes, and there are things that we need to do. So I think the same goes with infrastructure, important infrastructure for commodities that are life sustaining, that we just need to work with the right combination. There's public sectors, private sectors. We need to work at the legislation and look at policy. So I think all of those and having a hand in there and shaping that is what's going to help drive those things and get them completed.
I agree. And also, I think one of the things that I think is important is having water agencies talk to their constituents and tell them, hey, run your home and your property like a watershed. Explain to them how that works and where the water comes from and how do you use it. And using, it used to be, when you mentioned when people tried the taste test in Southern California, Irvine Ranch Water used to use the term from toilet to tap. Well, that didn't go well with the customers.
No, it doesn't go well. We will not be doing that.
No. And also the fact that you tell people, they have to conserve, and people don't like that term because they think that's where the government's coming after. It's using water more efficiently, make it a softer touch for people to do that. But I do have to commend all the water agencies in California when the drought came. They did their job. They got to 25%. Some were close to that, but the majority hit the mark. I know they're looking for more reduction. I know out here in Arizona, they're talking about from 28, they want to go to 40% now reduction. And that's going to affect stuff in California down toward the border of Mexico, in the Imperial Valley. Everybody wants water, and you're looking here. I was talking to Brenda Berman, I don't know if you know her. She used to be with the Bureau of Reclamation. Now she's in charge of the Central Arizona Project. And, who's going to make the decision on dividing how much everybody's going to use? And I see people with old water rights, they're pumping like crazy in California, and more than they should. But they say, hey, I'm entitled to it. That's what my ownership says I can do. So it's going to be tough. And I'd love to see, and I don't know how much farming industry you have up in your territory that you serve, but certainly in California, there's a big dollar amount of money they make in agriculture. And I'd like to see, not that I'm in that business, but I'd like to see more rebates going to the farmers, because it's one, we need the food, and two, it survives a business that makes billions of dollars for the state. And I don't want to see that go away. And we got to find ways. I know we did, not we, but I went to a study from the Irrigation Association, and they were talking about, had a presentation of somebody showing the rebate money for your homes for smart controllers versus how much water it really saved, versus if you applied that to the farming industry, how much more, like 15 times more water you'd save by giving them the opportunities to get rebates to get into smart electronics. And I think that's something that not that I live there anymore, but I'd love to see California remain strong and be what are they, the sixth largest money maker in the world for property. I mean, it's amazing, but I think that needs to happen. But I'm never going to be the czar of water. You'll probably get it way before me, so I'll be too old to do it by then. But we appreciate your comments, and any other insights that customers and people should know about San Jose Water?
I first of all thank you so much for coming on. Anytime I can talk about this amazing company, I'm super excited to do so. I just want to kind of give a shout out to my folks. My employees are nothing less than spectacular, and I'm so appreciative of the job they do. And we are open for education if people want to learn about our facilities, tours. We are so proud of our Montevina plant and our groundwater pumping station. So we're happy to host. Would love, Rob, if you're in California, to stop by and show you our magnificent watershed area too. So I just want to say thank you. And if anybody has questions, we're 24/7 and happy to answer and partner in any way we can.
Great. And if you ever want or have the need that you're going to do some training things like tours that you do that maybe you videotaped or anything, we also can broadcast in video.
Okay.
And we'd be glad to help you do anything that you want. Just let us know and we'll give you the airtime to do it.
Would love to, Rob. Thank you so much. Definitely when our DPR is up and running, you're going to have to come out and have a toast with us.
We'd love to do that. Well, thank you very much for joining us. All right. That was great having Tanya on. And so we're going to turn it over to our commercial break. And actually, it's going to NBC News. So we'll let you go that. And things we always tell you every single week is the following. For all of you who love green, you got to have blue. So make sure you use it wisely. Have a good week. Have a nice 4th of July, especially a safe one. And tune in next week. We have some special guests and talk about a lot more things about water. Thank you. Good night.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda.